Rightio, welcome to Uncle Brent's windy shed. This episode we do the dreaded Ford Territory rear diff bushes and all the control arms. For some reason I've been demonetised, so probably my last video for a while. Cheers. Right, I'm about to tackle this job that I've been putting off for 6 years. The old Territory diff bushes, but it also needs all the arm bushes. I'll show you in a minute when I jack it up. But first of all, I'll jack the front up and put the front wheels on some rims, because I'd do it on a hoist if I had one. Anyway, jack the front up, put them on rims to give me some ground clearance, and then I'll find, I'm running out of jack stands. I've got 4 under that car there, 2 under that car there, and 2 under this car. Yeah, I might have to rob Peter to pay Paul, so. Righty, so I've stolen the jack stands from underneath the VC. I've borrowed some from one of my lads' mates. He's got a YouTube channel, Bunda Racing. If you're into burnouts and LS's, I'll stick a quick picture up here. Right, so I'll jack this up as high as I can, get it on the stands, get the wheels off, get the brake calipers off, tail shaft and handbrake, and then I think the rest of it's just unbolting it and dropping it down. Right, so I've just been underneath crawling around, just familiarising myself with what I've forgotten. Obviously, I need to undo these axle nuts, because the axles are obviously got to be pulled out to remove the centre to do the bushes. I don't think you can do them. Anyway, this is a learning curve. ABS wiring, there's a plug there, thankfully, so I should be able to unplug that, hopefully with no dramas. Leave the wire attached to that. You can see those little plastic things there, that's where the wire's secured. Obviously tail shaft, spare wheel's got to come out, which isn't a drama. There's a little spare wheel doodad there, you just undo that bolt that drops the spare down. What else have we missed? Obviously the calipers, I'll unbolt them and hang them up, zip tie them up there. Obviously shockies have got to come off. Even those little arm bushes in there, it's wedged up against the fuel tank, so to do any of these bushes, the whole lot's got to come out. If anyone wanted to know. Territory diff ratio 373, not a bad ratio. Handbrake cable just up there. I'll undo that nut in the center, which is the cable that runs to the front. Undo that, those cables should pull back out of there and down, and then we'll just leave them hanging. Other than that, when I undo all these bolts, I'll mark those wheel liner adjustments, because theoretically the new bushes should be all central anyway, so it basically should go back to the specs that it was originally, because the tires are wearing absolutely awesome. Surprising for the amount of slop that the rear end has, because you can actually feel it steering the car when you go over bumps. Can't get to that one, that's an actual thread in the body. So I've just discovered that the axle nut. Obviously it's got to be metric, but 1 3/8 fits it. Oh, absolutely superbly. Oh, it's not even that tight. These caliber bolts are 15mm. Oh, so this is an 09 SY2 territory with a barra and 4-speed auto. It's what is it? TS. So it's like a notch below the gear, which is pretty cool. I had a laugh there a while back. We'd been driving it for 6-7 years and didn't realise it had like a stability control on it. So when you try to do a snaky on a dirt road, it actually brakes on left and right sides individually to stop it. Didn't even realise it had it. Bit of a hidden feature that, well, I was unaware of anyway. That's what happens when you buy a second-hand car. The salesman's not going to know every detail of it. Oh, just a quick tip too. Always screw your bolts back into where they come from, instead of just letting them roll around on the ground and getting kicked under the bench. That way there, when you go to reassemble it, you're not looking for stuff. I've just popped this wheel back on because I forgot to show you how much slop it has in it. Hopefully you can see it. Now that's in the top, one of the top arms. The last time I checked that it had forward movement as well, but I can't pick that up at the moment, but it's all right. So I just buzzed that spare wheel nut, obviously lefty-loosey. You don't have to buzz it right out so it all drops on the ground. You just buzz it enough so you can lift that up and unhook that. And then she drops down, covers you in. Joys of living out in the bush. Makita to the rescue again. Alright, so just got the vice grips on the handbrake cable. Give it a bit of a lube. Got to basically undo that thread to the end. Get that off, and I was lying under here and seen a bloody brown snake. Yeah. I don't like them near the house because of the dogs, but I couldn't catch it, so I don't know where it is. Not very convenient, but anyway. All right, let's undo this. I just need to get it a little bit more, then I'll be able to use the Makita ratchet on it. A little bit painful, but could be worse. Got him. Don't know where that come from. That. There's a nut in here. Mark that with a texter just to make sure it goes back in the same spot. Sometimes they balance these things really weirdly. Some of them actually have weights on these pins here. From memory, this used to have weights on it, but I can't see any. Handbrake's undone as well. Got him off. Just cracked off these 3 lower bolts, this bar, because they're pretty firmly done up. I'll buzz them off with the ratchet, and then I'll slip it into neutral, turn the shaft 180, put it back in park. That way there it won't spin when you try to undo the bolts. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that was a little bit of a pain to get out of that recess inside of here. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I'll give it a couple of belts with a rubber mallet. That didn't do anything. So I got a hammer and chisel, and see that little groove there? Put it in that groove and give it a few taps, and it comes straight out. So it just needed some positive, you know, what's it called? Percussion? Right. So that ABS plug just simply plucks off with that little clip. Come off quite easily actually. And then I've already unplugged this. It's just a matter of pushing in that clip there and pulling it apart, which was 10 times easier than I thought it was gonna be. So just undo these front blade arms or whatever they're called. And while I'm at it, I'll take this strut rod off here. On this side it goes under the fuel tank strap, so I'll have to take it. I was just going to take it off on the front on that side, but this side's designed a little different. So right, as you can hear, the wind's picked up as per usual. Just went and had a lunch break. Now I'd get about to remove the shockies. You just have to take a bit of suspension weight and just make sure that the shocky does collapse a little bit, because essentially when your wheel's hanging or your suspension, your shocky is actually holding your axle up. So yeah, you're just gonna take a bit of weight, buzz the bolts out. Now this is all odd sizes, of course. 18mm, 15mm. Chrome socket for the win. Now, I'll tell you a story about these shockies in a minute. Once you lie them down, it's something you must do. But I'll tell you that when I'm putting them back together. Something else I noticed too, I've got to take this spare wheel carrier off because it's mounted to the diff cradle. Not a big deal, just that one nut there, and that side's just stuck in a pivot, so that should just slide out theoretically. I think that's the good bush, to be honest. Now I think we're just down to the mounting bolts. I did notice that sneaky one there goes in the side, and then there's just two. I can't really see it. There's two on either side. There's a bolt and a stud. I just cracked that bolt. It wasn't a real big deal. It wasn't overly tight or anything. So easy. Anyway, that's good news for me. Right, this wind has picked up something fierce, so You probably can't hear me. So I was wrong. There's actually 3 bolts per side. I thought there was only 2. So there's one back here that I could see before, and I could see that one. I didn't notice that one up in here. So basically they're 2 guide studs and 1 bolt. Now I've just buzzed that rear one off with a rattle gun, only because I could get to it. This front one's, I've already cracked that. They're not too bad, eh? Like, I thought they'd be terribly tight, but not really. There's the bonus. Now, the other side, like I've said, I've cracked all 3 and removed the front and rear. So I've just got the center one, about a quarter undone. Same as this one, and then I'll put the jack underneath and we'll lower it down. See the gap opening up now. I think it's going to be a little front heavy because the diff centers sort of sits there. Alright, I'll get the jack ready. Rightio, all the bolts are undone. Everything as far as I know is undone. The jack is under there, central on a big piece of wood. Got that rear bolt out. So theoretically, I'd like it to stay central on that jack, but who knows? It'd probably fall forwards. That's my gut feeling. All right, time for a time lapse. That literally took 30 seconds. Reasonably uneventful. It just come down a little bit of an angle. Well and truly due for a freshen up. These top arms are pretty bad. And obviously the diff center's been floating around for years. You can hear it banging every time it changes gears. Probably not going to be able to flex it. Righty, so one of my old workmates rocked up, Ivan Bruv, old Bruvy, skull drag this diff center to here, or cradle. I'll have a go at slinging that on this, get it outside because I want to wash it. I'll blast it all out, it'll be chockers full of dirt because of where we live. And I can probably do some disassembly outside anyway. But this is not all getting done in one day, obviously. This is going to probably take me well over a week because this is my last day of my holidays. So I've got to go away for work tomorrow, but that's only for a couple of days. So I'll be back doing a little bit during the nights. All right, let's get this outside. Rightio, I forgot to video, but doesn't really matter. I just soaped it up with the old Soaper 9000. I just pulled the hose out of the little bottle there and ran some CT18 into it, and then it draws it through. So just leave that for a couple of minutes and then we'll blow it off. Still breezy. Supposed to be getting rain, but who knows. Something else I've noticed too. Pretty sure that's the diff breather. Don't know where the other half of that hose is gone. Right, I'm back. It's literally been 2 weeks since I've done anything to this territory rear end after I washed it. Now I've just set up this gazebo thingo because it has been hot, 40 degrees plus. So you're gonna have to put up with the wind noise, unfortunately. So yeah, this is really awkward to work on the ground, trying to pull arms off and everything's binding up, arms twisting. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I want to try to explain every single little detail that I come across that, you know, when you go to search something on YouTube and they skip that section. So I just want to make sure I cover everything. I can't find, there's plenty of videos out on diff bushes replacement, nothing about arms that I could see. So yeah, that's all just going to be done in a simple press. I did discover that I didn't have to undo that nut, which some of you have probably picked up at the start of the video, which I'm just going to leave all my mistakes in there so we all learn together. Most of the bushes are in the arms themselves. It's this lower, I can't remember what they call it, oscillating thingo. That's in the lower arm on the outside. So this assembly is going to have to go in the press. It's going to be a little awkward, but we'll make it work. The diff center does have to come out, because to get those lower arms out with these bolts, they run straight into the diff center here. So yeah, I drained the oil a few days ago, so that's been slowly draining. I did actually do these bushes on this arm just to get my head around it and what I needed in the press. The other thing too, I've left this arm in because that's the only one that has a adjustment. So that's obviously the front lower arm, has the toe in adjustment there. So I'm just going to simply mark that bolt before I undo it, obviously both sides. And theoretically the bushes are going to be round and the new ones are going to be round, so it should be perfectly aligned, because this never scrubbed tires or anything anyway, never had a problem with tires. To generally pop these CVs, you normally get 2 tire levers or 2 bars and pop them in opposite each other. Give them a little bit of a bounce. Next thing I'm going to do is socks. Socks are the best rags for packing in small areas. Put a sock in there. Because not my luck, it's probably going to sit around for another week. I'd like to get it done today though. Right, so I'm about to pull this side apart so I can get the CV joint out, so I can remove the diff center. So I'm just going to do a time lapse on this because it's boring. It's simply just nut and bolt here, nut and bolt there, nut and bolt down the bottom. Yeah, so those 3 arms, and then the handbrake cable which runs through here. I've taken photos so I know where it goes. Just runs down underneath. I've got that little clip there. I can't get my hand in there. Yeah, I just got to get it out of that clip. It's a little bit tight, but no big deal. All right, let's do it. No idea what I did differently, but that literally buzzed apart in 2 minutes. Next step is these bolts here. There's 3 on either side, 1, 2, 3. Then undo those, bolt there, there's no nut on those, they're captive threaded inside of that cast section, and a bolt on the back, obviously it's threaded into that housing there. So, and then we can pluck the center out,
pluck the rear arms off, and yeah, these ones here. Just got those 6 bolts out of there, 15 mil, no big drama, just had to get down underneath with a spanner. No room here for a socket and ratchet, a bit tight in here, so had to do it with a spanner. So yeah, they're all out, so we'll just knock these ones out. I've already pre-cracked these ones. And this one around here, I had to get the big fella out because that was tight. I was a bit worried I was going to snap that off, to be honest. She come good. Right, that center's good to come out. Funny thing is, I've been whinging about the wind because it affects the phone. Now there's no wind and it is so hot. Can't please me. So I just managed to get this bush out. Started out, I went to try to find a socket that was big enough. That probably would have worked. Then I ended up getting a pin. I think that's out of a crane at work, out of a sheave or something. And yeah, that bashed out reasonably easy. It sort of got stuck in the bottom and I had to change it up to something a bit longer and then just tap it out. But come out quite easy. And the new one's like the minty size, so. Rightio, got those 2 bushes out. I just started on this 3rd one, which is the rear one. I've already given it a couple of taps and it's moving not too bad, so just got a couple of old bits from a machine shop. Pack it up and just give it a whack-a-doodle with a hammer. And she's moving. Righty, so obviously got all those bushes out now. I've just pin punched those marks so they go back in the same spot, both sides. I might do them first because it's just easy to get to at the moment, so I'll pluck them out and we'll push some in the press. Once those top ones are done, we'll do the bottom ones, get them back in so we can get the diff center back in. Right, we're about to push this first bush out. Yeah, you can see the bottom of it there. So all these spaces and bits and pieces and stuff, you know, got pipe fittings, various sizes. These are like leftover bits from the machine shop. Got some other bits down here. If you don't have none of these spaces and bits and pieces, I've got some more up there. Just find a mate that's got a lathe and, well, not a lathe, but works at a business, and see if you can get him to get you some offcuts of finished jobs and whatnot. And that's where you end up getting all your, you know, some of these pieces I've had over, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. All right. Yeah, that's another bit of pipe under there. Hard to see, a bit wobbly. A little bit crooked there. I'll just stop when that bush gets flush so we don't destroy the arm. Right, new one's going back in. You just got to eyeball the rusty section there, make it the same width, because it's Yeah, it's got about 8mm protruding out each side. So we'll just push that down till it's about 8mm and then pull it out and then just check both sides. Make sure it's copacetic. Done. Yeah, it looks good to me. Now we'll push this spherical out and push a new one in. And sockets make really good pressing tools too. Probably not ideal, but they've got all the right outside diameters, if you know what I mean. Now the other day when I did a practice run on my other spherical bush, I managed to find that's a new axle spacer or locking, what are they called? It's like a locking ring for when you put your rear wheel bearings on your axles. That fits on there perfectly. So you get to push on the actual outside. All right, and then we'll put a spacer on the top of that and then push it in. Right, finally got that lined up. A little bit painful, it kept trying to go in on an angle. We got it sorted. These go in all the way flush. Minty. Right, so I'm going to slip this bolt back in. I'm not going to tighten it yet. I'm going to do the other side off camera because you don't need to see double of everything. When I can actually tighten this bolt now, like I said before. It doesn't have to have suspension weight on it because it is a neoprene type bush, so it's not rubber. Just pushing the last of the inner control arm bushes out. This is one of the lower ones. This is one of the ones I need to get back in first before I put the diff center back in. All right, pushing him back in. Right, so now I've got my lower arms back in, torqued up, so I can get my diff center to fit in there. Front arms with the toe in adjustment, got them lined up and torqued back up both sides. So now we can do the diff bushes and get the center back in. Diff center in, all torqued up. Wasn't too bad to do, had to leave these loose obviously, tighten those so they pull together because it's a bit hard getting that one into the hole. Trying to lift the center on that side with one hand and screw that in, but she went in, no big deal. So now we're going to tackle these bushes. Now I'm not sure whether we're going to be able to do it on the ground here or it's going to be real awkward to get that in the press, so that's probably not going to happen. I might, yeah, see if I can make a puller up or something. Give that a crack. Rightio, another couple of days have gone past. I borrowed this tool from work. It's just called a bearing puller. So essentially what it is, that big thread there, obviously you screw this whole section here in and out to get your depth right. This little lever here, when you tighten that, it pushes a little, from memory there's a little cartridge of like grease in there. So it essentially hydraulically pushes out that little piston in there, that shiny bit. And obviously again I've got another handy socket wedged in there. I've already put a little bit of weight on it and it's just started coming out. When you've screwed this all the way in and it bottoms out on the end of the shaft, you simply screw that out and then screw this in to take up your slack here, and you just continue on. I only had to do it twice and the bush is out, so we can pre-wind that out for the next one. Go, new spherical going in. Already got it about quarter of the way in. It's a little bit tricky setting this up. You need about 4 sets of hands. You gotta hold all these and hold that socket and screw this in at the same time, but no, she's going in pretty good. So the movement on this old one is hard to tell, but absolutely cooked. So no wonder it was rattling and banging in the back. Oh, I forgot to mention too, I just had to take the boot off just to get that socket to fit over there nicely. That wasn't too bad to push back in actually. It was a little bit stiff to get the original one to move, to come out, but that new one went in pretty good. And at the end there, I actually give it a couple of love taps with the hammer just to get that flush. All right, I'm gonna do the other one off camera because this video is too long already. So just before I left home, I got the chisel and just bashed a little bit of a couple of sections in there just to get some CRC inside. And that's the new one in. Now that literally took 5 minutes. I could have done it at home, but I didn't have a nice big piece of pipe and a big enough socket. Other than that, I could have done it at home. The reason I've marked that is because, yeah, that's got to be clocked in a certain position. Just got to make sure it goes back in the same way. Otherwise, if it's twisted, it's going to pull awkwardly when I bolt it up, make the rubber perish quicker. So I've dragged this rear end in from outside because it's just been brutal out there. I'll fit the axles up first. I'll put the axles into there first and then drop that lower bolt in. Once that's done, I'll wangle the spring in and then proceed to connect the rest of the arms up. Righty, literally another week has gone past. Let's get back into it. Now, here's a tip I learnt over the years. This clip, they can be a pain sometimes and never want to line up. But if you put a bit of grease in the groove, it holds the clip in a central position. If you get it right in the middle there, and that way there it's not hanging out one side and can jam and damage the spline. But get it nice and central and it should just pop straight in. Pluck that rag out. Now I'm not going to lie, this is probably going to be awkward. You wouldn't have seen quite exactly what I did, but I lifted this up so the shaft was straight and sort of used it as a slide hammer essentially, and it didn't take much and bang, it went straight in. Well, I'm going to bang this together on time lapse. Yeah, if I come across something that we need to know about, I'll stop and sort it out. Right, I just made a mistake. Not a big mistake, but just awkward. This lower arm has got to go down here. Since I've put the bottom thing in there and the CV shafts in, I'm probably just going to have to pop that CV back out just to swing this down, just to get that past. Not a big deal, just a 5-minute setback. Got the little fan on, my only fan. Now, I've had this spring in and out 3 times. I'll put that bottom joint in, I'll put the spring in. No worries. I went to put this one in, had to pull the spring out. Put that in, put the spring back in. Couldn't get this one to line up. Put the spring back out. Got all 3 joints hooked up. Now I'm having trouble getting this spring in by hand. I do have a brand new set of spring compressors. It doesn't need much, but I lent them about 4 years ago. Do not lend your tools out, people, because now I'm struggling. Righty, managed to get that spring in there. Well, it was more the rubber that's at the top. That's the same rubber that's at the bottom. Just had to pry it up and down with a tie lever in there till I was happy. Right, I'll just show you the orientation of this spring. Now I know I didn't mark it, but I noticed the dirty section there was at the top when I pulled it out, and that sticker was at the bottom. Now these rubbers are the same. One's obviously worn out because that's at the bottom, so I'm going to swap that to the top. And yeah, the top one is going to go on the bottom. So essentially you just line that tail up like that, and when it sits in the arm, let's flip that rubber off, you want that end of that pigtail on the outside. So I can see that. So that's how you want it, sitting on the bottom like that, obviously with the rubber. Now my phone's overheating, so I'm just going to bash this side together and see where we end up. Bit hot here, 40 degrees, which is, I don't know, 115 Fahrenheit or something. See how whirlywindy. Oh. I was going to explain to someone how they actually start. They normally start on a dry, hard area, not where bushes are. And obviously the ground's hotter there. The air comes rushing in from around the bushes. And yeah, she goes up in the air, basically. Now it's traveling down that road, which makes sense, because it's hotter than everywhere else. Anyway. Righty. Got those handbrake cables, ran through where they were. I was wondering what this clip was doing floating around before, and I thought that's a bit weird, and then I just noticed there's the other half of it there, so that's obviously snapped off at some point. These here, you got little stoppers on the cable, and there's also on the underside there's witness marks, see there, where that's been rubbing in there, so we know that's where that goes. Right, I need to fill the center with oil. I'm not going to put that on until I've got weight on the wheels, because it's just too bindy, if you know what I mean. It's just going to be too awkward to fit. And those blade arms there, I'm going to fit them after that is up, because it's just going to make it awkward trying to line pins up and that in there, and it was awkward taking it out with them on, so they're going to stay off for now. So put oil in it, put a hose on here. I don't know where I'm going to run it yet. Probably up and over and just jam it down in there maybe. Yeah, good to go in. Remember how I said this clip was broken? Lucky. Have another spare territory diff center. Look at that. That's hot. Righty, I just about broke me back getting it off the blocks of wood onto the jack. All good. Put that little clip on, and the other diff had a breather hose as well. Still don't know where the end of it goes. Probably, yeah, I don't know. It's got a rub mark on it there, so maybe it goes up inside of the chassis rail. There's a little hole up there, so it probably go like that, so all the dirt just falls in there with gravity. A pretty good idea. All right, I'm gonna wheel this under and jack her up. Put some bolts in. Rightio, got him all bolted back in. Bolts back in there. 2 nuts and a bolt on the sides. And when I put that rubber hose on there, it's sort of lined up with that hole in the bit of a chassis rail there. So that's obviously where that goes. Now I might put the handbrake cable and the tail shaft on, work my way out. Right, so when I was pulling the handbrake apart, obviously knew where that came from, that this here sort of fell out on the ground afterwards. But looking at it, you can see inside of there a witness mark. So obviously that goes in there, that goes inside and whatnot. Oops. That goes there and then that goes there. Done. Let's see how much fumbling we can catch here on the old action cam. Now, hang on, let's gotta go that way. Pay attention. Oh, I'm not. Let's see, here we go. Right, that's in. Now, oops. Oh, that's just come out at the front. Oh, we'll fix that in a sec. We need that way, I believe. So put that inside of there. I'll probably be able to push it. Let's try pushing it. So that in there, if you can see. Push that over the top. Feed that into there. Probably look real clumsy doing this. Can you see what I've done? A little spacer that goes into that clip as well. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's going to stop that, all that rattling. Put my nut on. Now I need to go up there and sort out that bit that just come disconnected. Here
be, what do you call it? Prepared earlier. Do remember having to use a spanner, so we might just sneak that up with a spanner a little bit more. It's tight. Right. We'll leave that, we'll fine tune that later once the car's on the road. Lining up my marks. Pretty late now, it's about 10:30 at night because I've been out stargazing looking for that comet. Finally got a picture of it. How good is Makita? As smooth as the operation, listen. Doesn't even ratchet. Okay, let's go. Oh, brother. Oh, Captain Fumble. Captain Fumble's in the house. Oh. Back out of park. Turn it half a turn, back in the park, tighten them up. Stuff. What are you doing?
With the air blower.
Done.
Right, yeah, so last night when it was getting late, I just bashed this together off camera. I'm got to have a play with the handbrake, but we're not talking about this in this video. We're doing bushes and, you know. The one thing I want to show you though is the shocky. So first thing we've got to do is jack the stub up so we can put the shocky on, but that's gonna be my biggest tip of the day. No one does this anymore, so what I'm about to show you is a must. Right, now this does look like a snotty old shocky, but it's actually probably only about 2 years old. Now, I watched an episode the other day, Pole Barn Garage. A lot of people would know about him. He's a funny bugger. I love watching his videos. He took a brand new pair of shockies out of a box, pulled them, and one of them sort of shot out, and he looked at it, that's no good, and threw it straight in the bin. You have to bleed your shockies. So people don't like doing it because it's hard, but it literally takes 2 minutes. So don't be lazy, bleed your shockies after they've been laying down. Once you've bled them, keep them, stand them up, and fit them. Right? Hottest tip of the fucking century. Yeah. It's pretty windy today again, so hopefully you can hear this shocky. I'll stroke it full stroke 10 times. Hear that little bit of air at the top? Sounds like it was blowing bubbles. Sounded actually worse that second stroke. Right, last one. Wait for that wind noise to stop. Nice and quiet, no bubbles, no gurgling, nothing. Now, keep it in the upright position and put it on. Never sees, anti-seize, whatever, copper coat, whatever you got, and all your bolts. In she goes. Oh, check it up too high. Oh. Last thing I'm going to show you is fitting this blade arm back in. Again, never sees on the studs. Up the front where the bush goes. Now I found yesterday the best thing to do is put the top bolt in. What I found, I've got to let the suspension back down a little bit. I'll try that. 10 o'clock in the morning, it's already 40 degrees. Right, I've lowered that down quite a bit. It's enough to get me bolts on the front. Sorry, me nuts. Right, so I've got the front two nuts on there loose. So I've got the top bolt in here. Just got to line these two bolt holes up. It's going the wrong way, I reckon. Oh no. Getting closer. Oh, straight in. Right, all three are started. I'll buzz them in. Now I'll just tighten them bolts at the front. Nip check. Oh yeah, that's hot. Perfect. These ones a quick nip. TIT tight. Clean that wheel sensor up. It's got a few bit of swarf stuck on it from lying around on the floor. One other thing I like to do is just put a bit of never sees on the sensor because they were pretty tight to get out, and the bolt was fine. Put a little bit on the bolt as well. Hopefully it doesn't interfere. Should be right. Bit on the bolt. Minty. Right, now because this sensor's 99% plastic, you just simply do it up until the bolt stops turning, and then that's it. Doesn't need to be tight. Right, this video is basically done. I just got to muck around with the handbrake, put the caliper on. There's a few brackets that I need to put on underneath, plug my sensor in there. Yeah, so that's it. Rightio, thanks for tuning in. Got a few little loose ends I've got to tidy up on this job. Got about 2 hours of editing, 2 hours of footage I've got to edit, I should say. It's going to be a long video. Cheers for tuning in, and look after your mates.